Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the Sun square or opposition, the South Node in Synastry. Now, first off, the basic character, which is the Sun, and what the other person may be naturally proficient in. As the South Node, may not be compatible. The Sun person may be exasperated by those overdeveloped and redundant qualities of the South Node person. If the South Node is if the South Node person has their South Node in Aquarius as an example, those overdeveloped, redundant qualities could just be simply being rebellious and nonconforming just for the sake of that, be doing so. It could be very idiosyncratic behavior. It could be possibly just wanting to keep innovating or reform, so many things, things that don't even need reforming. Um, it could be, just, when you have this Synastry aspect another way, it could manifest. It could be about, the South Node. The Sun person may not, really want to focus, on those things, those qualities that the South Node person needs to leave behind. And the South Node, say the South Node person has their South Node in Capricorn. Those things that need to be left behind could be just being overly, negative, or pessimistic. It could be, just being, overly ambitious, for the sake of doing so, of being ambitious. It could be, being dominated, by career ambitions to the exclusion of other things, as some examples. And the thing about this too, the South Node person, you know, may, you have the South Node, it is connected with the built-in abilities, and the person may not use those abilities if it's about, possibly collaborating with the Sun person, on creative endeavors. The Sun is about our creative expression, and the negative traits that are associated with the South Node person may have an adverse effect, on the Sun person's confidence and ego. It could be, whatever, the South Node person has their South Node in Virgo. It could be an overly, negative, critical judgment, being overly negative, critical, or judgmental, toward the Sun person, may have a negative effect again on their own confidence and their ego. And let's say if the Sun is opposite the South Node in Synastry, then naturally the Sun, on the positive side, the Sun will conjunct the North Node in Synastry. The South Node person's North Node will conjunct the Sun person's Sun in Synastry. So on the positive end, what that could indicate is that the Sun person can still be involved in the future, the mission, the destiny of the North Node individual, but they may encourage him to leave behind the negative attributes and qualities that are associated with the South Node placement. However, if you have the South Node is making a square to the Sun in Synastry, then naturally the North Node will be making a square to the Sun in Synastry, which would still be adverse, and the Sun person may not even want to be involved in the future with that, with that particular person, or benefit that person's future. It doesn't mean, necessarily that these people will have no connection with each other, but it's just that the son, or maybe person, may not want, the involvement in terms of that person attaining, certain goals, aspirations, and objectives. Now, another thing about the synastry aspect is that, the south node, the sun person, may, put more, direction on what the south node person should actually leave behind, you know, and the sun person also, the vitality and energy of the sun person may be adversely affected by the south node person because of the energy that is connected, with the with the south node person may take a toll on that sun person's vitality and energy. And as I stated in my earlier videos on the natal placements, about never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on that alone, because the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. And that would certainly apply to synastry aspects in astrology. One synastry aspect does not make a connection or relationship, and this is the sun square or opposite the south node in synastry is certainly no exception to it. I mean, in most synastry charts, you're going to have a plethora of aspects between person A and B. And the thing is, well, this aspect is not, auspicious. It doesn't make or break a connection. You can have, as an example, as I stated before, if the sun is opposite the south node in synastry, the north node will be conjunct the sun. And I mean, let's say that you have even the square in synastry. Let's say that the sun is square the south node in synastry between two people. But let's say that you have, the south person's north node is conjunct the sun person's ascendant. Then, that north node, that person can be instrumental in the ascendant person's new beginnings. So, in as far as their physical body and appearance may go, first impressions, that could be, that could offset some of the negativity connected with this adverse synastry aspect. So, you have to, factor in all the, all the aspects when you're delineating, synastry between, two people, and this is no exception to it. And another thing about this aspect in synastry, the sun square or opposite the south node in synastry, is that when we're talking about the sun, being the basic fundamental character of the person, would certainly be a disparity between that and that south node person, what they're naturally, I guess you could say, proficient in. If you have, let's say one person has their sun in the zodiac sign Cancer, and the other person has the south node, it's in Aries, and it's square aspect. It can indicate, the sun person with the sun in Cancer, the basic fundamental character, can be very, nurturing, caring, sympathetic, and emotional. Now, the south node in Aries person may be very adept at being, outspoken, direct, sometimes brusque in their manner and speech, aggressive, assertive, where the sun in Cancer can be more passive and timid. So the thing about south node in Aries may have a thing for adventure, where the sun in Cancer, their basic one is more connected with introverted activities. So anyway, People, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.